That is so grim. That is so grim.
shakes and it bends, don't give a damn. When the night's here, I don't do tears, baby, no chance. I could dance, I could dance, I could dance. Watch me dance, dance the night away. My heart could be burning, but you won't see it on my face. Watch me dance, dance the night away. I'll still keep the party running, I won't get out of place. Lately, I've been moving close to the edge, still be looking my best. I stay on the beat, you can count on me, I ain't missing no steps. Cause every romance shakes and it bends, don't give a damn. When the night's here, I don't do tears, baby, no chance. I could dance, I could dance, I could dance. Watch me dance, dance the night away. My heart could be burning, but you won't see it on my face. Watch me dance, dance the night away. I'll still keep the party running, I won't get out of place.
Episode 3. Thank you to everyone for kindly joining us from the live audience and to everyone watching online. Hi, Barbie.
Hi, kid.
Before we go any further, I would like to acknowledge that we are on the land of the Wurundjeri people. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and we are using this land today as a place of learning and creativity, which the Wurundjeri people have been doing for thousands of years before that. We would like to extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today.
Today, it's a battle of blockbusters. We're dissecting the wide world of movie advertising, focusing on the movie with the biggest advertising budget so far this year, Barbie!
I'm Jaya, and this is Charlie. We're your Barbie girls, and this is our Barbie world. Barbie versus Oppenheimer. It's the movie rivalry that shook the world. Two huge films with advertising budgets that spared no expense. Launching to the worlds in cinema on the same day, some chose their sides, others supported both, and the rest, well, they just lived under a rock.
A nice rock, I hope.
They were the biggest films of the year, sparking a popular culture phenomenon, encouraging audience to return to the cinemas once more.
Both films' rollout was a refreshing change of pace from how a blockbuster usually advertises itself. Most big-budget films just get 2 to 3 trailers, a couple posters, and a press run, if they're lucky. Yawn. While these are established methods to advertise films, they're just so safe.
Oppenheimer creatively used their larger-than-life cast.
Like Matt and Killian.
Barbie, we're on air. Universal used well-placed timers as outdoor advertisements to build anticipation for the biopic of the grandfather of the atomic bomb. They also used viral marketing strategies to create speculation on how Chris Nolan, the film's director, was able to recreate the Trinity test without the use of CGI, which was then followed by another viral campaign that insisted audiences saw Oppenheimer on the biggest screen imaginable.
But all that pales in comparison to Barbie. Greta Gerwig is the first female director to direct a $1 billion movie. All right, I think that deserves an applause, people. Thank you. Warner Brothers went all out for this film with a rumoured $150 million budget. We've all seen it. They've built a huge recreations of the Barbie dream house all over the world. Had the film stars visit them, and there's even been a global shortage on pink paint.
There certainly has, and they created a lengthy soundtrack that appeals to the film's target demographic perfectly, with A-list artists like Billie Eilish, Ice Spice, Nicki Minaj, Dua Lipa, and of course a cross-banding campaign unlike any other with countless household name brands collaborating with the Barbie brand. OPI, Cotton On, Burger King, Crocs, pet clothing brands, rugs, toothpaste. Toothpaste image.
But it is truly unlike anything we've ever seen before. But their most memorable form of advertising was their posters.
With humorous taglines that had the audiences making their own posters, and let's just say, if you can get audiences making their own forms of advertising for your film and establish yourself as part of the popular culture, well then, you probably have a hit on your hands.
And speaking of hits, the Hungry Talks team, let's be honest, decided to procrastinate our session and investigate, work, and use precious airtime as an opportunity to present an unofficial Barbieheimer trailer. Trust me, I tried to talk them all out of it.
And I definitely didn't, so let's roll it.
Thanks for convening at short notice. I can't believe it. Well, here we are.
This is atomic test. We were in a race against the Nazis.
Guys, please don't applaud. You're just encouraging them. Anyways, you know what makes the Barbie movie rollout even more interesting, Ken?
What, Barbie?
Well, that if you think about it, the movie itself is an ad for Barbie brand and manufacturer Mattel.
Absolutely, it's kind of like what the Avengers have done in the Marvel Universe, and I think it's really great to see these massive brands and mega movies target themselves that are usually targeted towards men, but now it's for a much wider audience and genders, and it's so much more inclusive, which I think is really exciting, and it's, well...
What?
Where's the jingle?
Oh, I'm not even going to argue with you this time. I'm just going to roll with it. Do I even have a choice?
I knew you'd come round to it. Roll it.
Okay, my turn again. Banana boat. Yeah, there you go. See, every time I sing it, you get it right because I sing it like how it is.
Okay, fine. This time I'll actually be spot on.
I swear I know that ad, but I have no idea what it's advertising. I actually can't remember either.
Okay. I just wanted to let it be known. No, Jaya did not convince me that I've just given up arguing about jingles at this point.
Which basically means I win.
Well, I'll be sure to be more argumentative next time. Anyways, I'm actually just getting word. Sorry. We need to move on to our ad of the week.
No one is talking into our earpieces, Barbie. Nice try at changing the subject. Real nice. Although this week, we're keeping our pretty little eyes locked on the Barbie movie and going back in time to look at one of their earliest advertising campaigns. This one is from the 1970s.
That's right, Ken. This week's ad turns 53 this year. Let's see how it is aged.
Suddenly, Barbie's moving, like you move. Suddenly, she's a new, living Barbie, moving more naturally, looking more lifelike than any other fashion doll. Suddenly, she's posing as though she's walking, running, bending, jumping, waving, holding, carrying, tumbling. Suddenly, she's a new, living Barbie, acting more like a real teenager than ever before. Suddenly, she's a new, living Barbie, wearing special new costumes more easily, more gracefully, and more glamorously. Suddenly, she's doing things only a living Barbie can do.
Wow, she's real like me.
She's the new, the one and only, the true living Barbie.
Damn, we have come a long way.
Here to discuss this week's Out of the Week with us is third-year advertising students, the lovely Jackson Sharpe and the very charming Tom Burt. Tom Burt, sorry.
That's
So
right.
what do you think?
It was good.
Yeah, it's interesting. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting ad because when it comes to the target at the time, I'm sure that the creators hit the brief probably perfectly. It's probably more a reflection of how far we've come since then, which is interesting. It's always interesting to look at those old ads, and you can't judge the creatives entirely, nor can you judge the brands. Sort of a whole societal momentum. Advertising influences on one half, and then society influences advertising on the other half. So, looking back at the old ads is interesting to make sure, especially, we don't repeat some of the archetypes and stereotypes that we might want to avoid in the future.
And I think that's exactly what the Barbie movie sort of did. It was sort of trying to not reinforce that. And I mean, ultimately, they created their own real-life Barbie with Margot Robbie. So it was, you know, it just proves. I think Greta Gerwig kept that in mind when she was creating the movie, and they definitely kept that in mind with the advertising. So
Definitely added credit to
100%.
like the past, and then just kind of like showed it in a new way.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And Barbie was initially, as a brand, was conceived to try and break stereotypes, which is one of the great ironies of probably their middle history. Because initially it was because little girls were playing with dolls of babies only, essentially.
Yeah.
So then they were trying to break that purely maternal role and say, well, women can do other things too. And then we all kind of know that then what that ended up being. And then in sort of the early 2010s, there was this real backlash from society. And a massive response to Barbie, the brand responded. And the ads can be great, but if you don't actually walk what you're talking about, then no one's really going to care in the long run. And they've done a good job of that. Like, their ads are always backed up by broader campaigns. If they're talking about a problem, they'll fund solving it, and they'll do a lot of good things.
Yeah.
I'm going to move from here.
Bit too squishy over there, hey?
Yeah, you've also got to give credit to Mattel for sort of really allowing Greta Gerwig to write the script, which is in recognition of that, and to almost poke fun at itself. And I think that was really the only way to do it, because otherwise you can't, you know, they're acknowledging it and they're saying that we can move forward, and the Barbie movie was really interesting in how it sort of addressed all that.
It is very self-aware, I found, especially when they had like a audio comment about like the casting director's choice for Margot Robbie as we were talking about stereotypes of beauty.
Yeah, that part was funny.
And I mean, they even like take you know, the mick out of the CEO of Mattel,
Yeah.
who's played by Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see the creative freedom and the positive that sort of came from that.
Yeah, I think they really executed it well in kind of starting up these conversations again and just drawing attention to kind of what society is to an extent.
For sure.
Yeah, and they have a real sense of introspection, I think, and that's really clear. Like the Barbie movie, obviously, but in a lot of their other advertising as well, they're very clear about, like, if we're talking about this, we need to understand it. Like Barbie, I completely understand a lot of the criticisms for it, but there's a lot of people who have a lot of good sentiment towards the brand. It's a great IP. It's really good to have brought it back in this movie with a big budget and a really good effort, not just like a cheap spin-off sort of thing. And a lot of their ads do show that quality these days, where they've actually thought about the insight, they've thought about what they're trying to say, and they've thought about who it matters to and making sure that it really hits home. Yeah. And I think it's a really good sign for the future of the brand. And I think these days, like, where brand volatility for some of these big brands is really high, Barbie are doing a really good job at knowing what they're trying to be, shooting straight, and catering to the people that care.
Yeah, definitely. Well said. Thank you both so much for coming on.
No worries.
Jackson and Tom. I'm sure we'll see you again, Tom. You love it on here. It's really amazing to look back at how advertising has evolved over time, isn't it, Barbie?
Absolutely, Ken. With all the new technology we've seen recently, the industry has done well to grow with it. And who's a better example than Howatson Company? They're this year's B&T's 2023 Advertising Agency of the Year, Independent Agency of the Year, and Emerging Agency of the Year.
But before that, let's take a quick ad break.
We'll be right back.
Wouldn't it be nice if the world was cat-free? Driving in the car would be a tasty treat. Changing gear will soon become a problem. Cat-free dairy milk is so good to eat. When you arrive at your destination, you'll be greeted with an exclamation. Wouldn't it be nice?
Of Howatson Company.
Banana boat.
Front side protection.
Banana boat.
It's 30 plus. banana boat. It lasts for hours and hours and hours. Banana boat, banana boat, do 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 do. Psycho.
Banana boat. Do 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 do. Well, with Cadbury, while the Cadbury one definitely had a cannibalism joke in there somewhere, but the VB one is a personal favourite of mine. It's such a creative and like refreshing way to show off your like product when it reaches a point where everyone and their mother knows what the product is.
And if you like it so much, why don't you marry it?
What are you, 5? I'm just saying that.
Howatson Company are here now, Barbie. Behave. And for those at home that may not be familiar with their work, you will be now. Roll it.
Thank you so much for joining us, Beck and Sasha. So Beck, your managing partner, and Sasha, your chief media officer. Welcome to our studio.
Thanks for having us.
Firstly, I just kind of like wanted to start like keeping up with the MTV sort of theme. We asked all guests to share a photo from the 90s with us. Beck, we've got this one of you. Very nice pigtails. And Sasha, thank you for this gem.
I appreciate that you've cropped out the wine there.
Do we look You're not meant to tell people. Besides the confusion over email, yes.
Yeah. So can you like explain what your roles are and maybe give us a day-to-day kind of how it works in the workspace?
Sure. Well, I'll start. I think the VB ad was a great segue because I think my role would probably be closest to being an orchestra conductor. There's a lot of different pieces working together, all need to be in harmony. Sometimes there's a bit of an off note and you need to step in and solve that. But I think we sit, I sort of sit across everything from managing teams of people to helping clients work through their business challenges primarily. And then all the way through to making sure that we end up with an execution, you know, like some of the ones that you shared. So I think it is really navigating that journey from brief all the way through the agency, all the way through production and onto air, which has been when Sasha and I sort of work in lockstep together. So.
Yeah, definitely. So I look after our media department, which is basically buying all of the ad space for the wonderful creative. For Howatson Company, we do all of it. So we do creative and media. Often you have agencies that just do media or just do creative. And we sort of expand beyond that as well for sort of tech and PR and things like that. But my team, we basically look at where people are spending their time and who are we trying to reach and how we can then buy the placements to actually put the ads into.
Great.
There's a lot of Excel.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. And at Howatson Company, you tend to kind of have pretty avant-garde ads. How do you think that reflects your company and your approach in that as well?
It's a great question because we have a creative philosophy, if you will, that is no-how style. So I think we approach every brief with a fresh set of eyes and almost walk in stupid, you know, and we need to understand who the consumer is, what their motivations are, what you know, what they need from the ground up. And I think we have I guess our agency is built around, which is why Sash and I are a great representation of what we call intersectional creativity, which is in the old world would be called a full service agency. In the new world, it is about putting the customer at the centre, and it is having brand and tech and media and influence and PR, and it's that intersection that creates the magic. So I think from that you can probably understand then some of the work you see, why there's no house style.
Yeah.
Would you add anything?
Yeah, I think we always talk about the fact that you really have to look at each brief really separately, and it's really easy to be like, oh, well, historically that client's done this sort of work. And there is an element of that, but really trying to see how can we approach it directly for that problem, for the audience and for that time as well. I think, you know, you spoke about, you know, the old Barbie ad at the time probably did hit the brief. And so how do we do that and, you know, not always hit those pitfalls, but how do we continue to really make sure we're giving the clients what they need in that moment and push for it? And you get to do a lot more interesting things by doing things, you know, different, and it gives you a lot more freedom.
I think the other thing I'd probably add to that is even if we're not the ones doing the media planning and buying for the client, we have the capability in-house to provide insights to help us arrive at those different, unique, most sticky mediums to tell the story. But I think storytelling is not going away. It's just how and where we tell them that's evolving and changing and depends on where the audience is and you know, message and moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think being able to say, you know, maybe a TVC is not the right ad in this instance is a really great thing to be able to say, you know, you should actually be looking at your website journey. Not
like a
putting
different platform.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
and really being able to lean into that and say, well, what's going to be the best option, and knowing who to pull in at the right time from the departments of, you know, who's the subject expert we need.
And I think just like what you guys have said, that's why advertising is so good, because you're using storytelling and then you're applying that to the medium that you think that's right, and you just like, you're getting the creative juices going. And now I'm going to ask a follow-up question with, where do you guys get your creative inspiration from? Is it like podcasts? Is it books you read?
Go for a walk.
It can be anywhere. It can be anywhere. It can be, you know, watching a movie. And I think there's, you know, we'll talk about that in a sec, but there's some really, you know, there's some really interesting strategies that looking at the Barbie movie, I think, spawned some sort of thought with me lately. But it can be sitting with your kids and watching Bluey and, you know, that can spark an idea, or it can be listening to podcasts about, you know, unrelated things, but just understanding where, you know, where people's genesis for a business might have come from, or, you know, how people look at a customer differently. So I think it's podcasts, it's reading, it's talking to people.
Like just a whole combination of everything.
It is opening your eyes and looking at the world around you, I think, and being open to
you've got to be out in the world. And I think that's something often you see, I think, particularly in advertising, is that there is a bit more of a natural shift of back to the office. And whilst that might feel like it's not flexible, it's not that. It's that everyone sort of seems to thrive off being around other people.
Yeah, you
and
can
I think,
bounce.
you need someone to be able to call and it's so much easier to be like, hey, what do you think of this? Or just even being, our offices are on street level, and even being on the street is really, really interesting, because you get to sort of just be around culture. And I think that's really, really important. Like, I try and listen to a podcast in the morning to be like, I haven't had time to read the news. What's going on in the world, and those sort of things. But I think just the more that you can be exposed to as many different parts of our community and our culture as possible is where you sort of find the inspiration.
I think the best thing I'd leave you with is that advertising is competing with culture for people's attention. So if you can't be in culture, you're gonna get missed.
All right. Thank you so much for that insight. I just want to talk quickly about one of your recent campaigns and TikTok series, I'm Dying Inside, for Modbodi period underwear that empowers people with periods to practice good self-care around menstruation in a fun and relatable way. Here, we've got a little clip from TikTok series that launched earlier this year.
What is that? Oh, so what I was thinking, you're right. Yeah. Oh, I'm just trying to sync up. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, cool. So, I don't know.
Oh, underwear time.
Oh my god. Okay. Ew. Alright, shut up. Okay, frozen yogurt kind of slaps. Maddie! Huh? I think you're getting love bombed! Stuff it. Period! No, I have a plan. I'm pre-bleeding over here!
Okay, so this TikTok series is actually really interesting because it was filmed for TikTok as well as you were able to produce 30 minutes of content over only 2 days. Can you walk us through like the process a little bit quickly?
Sure. I think it's probably good to start with what the brief was and why we ended up with the platform. And I think what we learnt from the client from sessions with them is that under 35s have the largest propensity to purchase period underwear, and then if it's a bit like a bank account, if you get someone in early and you build, they have a trusted product, they'll stay with them for till menopause. And so the challenge for this was how do we get 18 to 24-year-olds to choose Modbodi and then obviously go and consider and then go and purchase a pair. But I think what we, as part of the, I guess, campaign planning was actually looking at where is that audience and where do we talk to them and where can we actually start to connect with them in a way that represents who they are today. And I think that's why you will see the representation of characters, the representation of moments and language and all of those are reflective of that audience and the lives that they're leading today. And so I think it was sort of a bit of a touch of the heartbreak highs and all of and you can sort of see there's a similar sort of code in which that cohort are talking and that we've sort of captured there.
Yeah, I think the thing is that in reality we could have sold in a content series, right? And in reality that's what it is. But taking it that further to say a 16:9 content series or a 1:1 content series is not going to be the right thing here. We need to have something that is bespoke to that platform to actually really lean into that. And that was a massive job in terms of the team selling that into the client and saying, we're going to shoot it all in 9:16, so it's not going to go on TV and it's not going to go on your billboards and things like that. And
you're like, it's just for this one.
It is just for that. And how do we then, in the same way, right? If you've got the Barbie movie and it's then how do you bring that into all these different places that it theoretically is an ad itself, is then how do you lend that? But that really key thing, that idea in making sure that it was bespoke for platform is what makes part of it so great. And I think it just would have missed if it was, it would have missed the authenticity if it then got pushed out onto YouTube or onto TV in that instance, because for what that audience and that sort of content wasn't right.
For sure. And on that, also, do you have any notable clients that you've worked with in the past that you're allowed to speak about?
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our clients. I think we are nothing without our clients. And so I think to pick a favourite would be wildly unfair. I think there were probably two clients that really off the back of allowed us to found our agency, and I think that's Belong and Allianz really were our were our sort of cheerleaders and enablers from day one, and as still we're still proudly partnering together. But I think every client represents a different challenge and a different opportunity for us to do the best by them and their brand and hopefully get some interesting work into the world that creates a conversation and leaves a legacy.
Amazing. I love that line. And also on the Barbie movie, so you've both seen it?
I haven't yet.
No, I've booked in for Monday. I'm very excited.
But I feel as though, don't worry, go for it.
Okay, so I won't talk about the movie.
You can talk about the movie,
I'll talk about what are your thoughts on the marketing of the movie itself?
I mean,
pretty impressive campaign.
It's a hugely impressive campaign. I'm a bit of a marketing science nerd, for lack of a better term. And so really it comes down to, it's like reach and frequency, right? Yeah. It's how often can you be there? And you're not watching them be like, let me tell you about this movie and its proof points and things like that and why you'll have a good time. It's like, it is literally just get my brand in front of as many people as possible, as regularly as possible, and then allow all the conversations around it to build salience.
Yeah.
And I think the cross-channel nature of that, and I mean, we'd all love to have $150 million to spend on that. It would, take some hard decisions out of the ball game. But I think the big thing for me is that I'm like, they've gone as many places as possible, right? Yeah. And it's not about, we need a TVC. It's how can we just have a pink billboard? How can we have partnerships? How can we almost appear where it becomes so synonymous with our life?
Exactly.
You know, the big brands such as like Coca-Cola is that you can see that red.
Yeah.
And there's nothing about that little convenience store that is actually about the brand, but you know that you could go in there and get a
just
Coca-Cola.
associate it. It's almost like Cadbury as well. They've like trademarked
Exactly.
the whole colour. So Barbie pink is like basically a
exactly,
thing.
and just really leaning into that. And I think they've just done an incredible job of. I swear, you guys met through the amount of partnerships, but every time I open my phone, there seems to be a new one as well.
I think the other thing I'd add is the marketing started well before they got to the campaign. And the choice of Mattel to let this go forward, and I know there was a lot of sort of tense negotiations with Mattel and Margot Robbie's production company, but I think the really clever thing that Mattel did is they saw the opportunity to bring in a new audience in a world where Barbie was losing relevance based on freedom of expression and people really saying, you know, whatever the patriarchy, this became an opportunity for them to bring that audience in, make them part of the conversation and give them a voice in it. And I think, so the marketing started all the way back there. The campaign to make sure that people saw the film was just a part of that strategy.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
Thank you so much for both of you for coming on, Beck and Sasha. Best of luck with everything in the future.
Thanks.
Round of applause.
Thanks, guys.
So far today, we've focused on a lot of bigs.
Big agencies.
Big time jumps.
Big brands.
Big movies. But let's scale things back a little bit and focusing on how advertising can impact small businesses. Recently, I sat down with Claudio, my good friend, to talk about his small clothing label, Acaerr.
Hi guys, welcome back. I'm here with Claudio, brand owner, entrepreneur. What would you call yourself?
An idiot. I've been making clothes for a while. I started in like year 7 in high school with a different brand. But yeah, I've been doing it for a while.
How do you pronounce it for those that don't know?
So I say Acaerr, some people say Acaerr. I'm not really fussed.
Where does that come from?
So the story is originally my first brand was called Goofy. Then I stopped that in high school, and first year of uni I made a brand called Acaerr, but then I couldn't register it because there was a dirt company called Acaerr. So then I like smacked my keyboard and Acaerr were the letters, and I was like, alright, I'm just gonna run with that.
And here we are today.
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of
Beanies on, represent. You're doing it for your capstone as well, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, so I'm doing a couple like guerrilla marketing type things, and then also just some more traditional like posters and things like that. I'm not doing any social ads because paid social ads suck. I hate them. I hate it, like using socials is cool, but paid ads, I absolutely hate them. I don't like them at all. No sponsored posts.
No sponsored posts.
And no voiceovers. No AI voiceovers on TikTok. Death to all brands that do that. I think like marketing for brands has gotten really stale, and people kind of stick to like doing paid ads on socials, and they're just really boring. So trying to do something that's a bit more fun and creative. The following I have is really loyal and dedicated. It's not the biggest right now, but it's growing. That's the kind of thing I want. I see a lot of brands that have thousands of followers and their engagement is terrible because they're all from social ads and paid ads, and you have like 4,000 followers and your engagement is like 80 on a post. It's like terrible. Like I have 600 followers and every post gets like 200 likes. I'd rather have like a really loyal and dedicated group of people than like thousands of people with like 20 people.
Yeah, that's so cool to see. I think even like just as a follower, as a brand, or especially if I know the person, it makes me want to wear it more. It makes me like kind of more like prideful to wear it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's obviously like it's a brand that's like a lot quite central to skating culture as well.
Yeah, skating graffiti.
So do you skate?
Yeah, I used to be a little graffiti kid, a little skater boy. So, yeah, I don't know. I've just always I grew up playing tennis and I enjoyed tennis, but I kind of hated the fact that there were rules. And it's like skating and graffiti and anything creative. There's really no rules, and that's kind of what appealed originally for me.
How do you find like people that you want to model your branding? Like, what is it, mates, or is it people that you just like represent the skate scene?
Yeah, it's a combination. It's mostly like mates. sometimes it'll be people I meet at things that just suit the brand. For the most part, I'd say like 90% of it is just friends though. It's the best way to go about it, to be honest. Yeah. Get everyone involved. Like it's rewarding to see like all of your friends doing well and like them wanting to see you do well. So I feel like if I help my friends with a lot of things and we collaborate on a lot, and then it's the same for them with me. So yeah, just seeing everyone win.
Such a good way to do it. Are there any people that you really like, you follow a lot that have their own brands, or like creatives that you follow that kind of inspire you, or is it just like you kind of just, you know, you see a bit and...
Damn, honestly, there's a lot. Like on the spot, that's a hard question. Yeah, there's a lot. So there's a lot of people that I draw inspiration from and that I follow. Probably right now, for me, my favorite person online, his name's Sloan. I think you've probably seen him. Yeah. He kind of reminds me a bit of me. He's a bit rogue and like he's kind of broken into the art world against the odds. Like no one, I feel like he was going against everything and everyone and he still made it, which is cool. I like seeing stuff.
Just like go out and do it, and
his way.
If it works, do it my way.
His way, like not following conventions.
Like what sparked the interest in it? You said, you know, you were a skater kid, you did photograph, but what about like sort of more specifically focusing that into fashion and clothes?
I think it's that exactly. A large part of like skating and graffiti is being creative. I think it kind of just stemmed from that. Half of skating is like how you look and how you dress. Yeah, it's one of those things like when you go to get clips for videos, half of it is like, and like most people won't admit this, but half of it is getting the tricks and half of it is how like stylish you look. So it's, I don't know, it kind of just played into that. And then all the kids I was hanging out with in high school, you know, they'd always be wearing like whatever, and I'd be like, oh, I want to wear that too. So I feel like any kid, you dress like how the people around you dress, and that's kind of, yeah, what kind of sparked that, I guess.
Apparently, I don't know, am I allowed to say this? You might have a pop-up?
Yep, unannounced, but yeah, it's happening.
What's going on there?
So it's been something I've been meaning to do for a while, and only because the brand, in the last like 3 months, the brand has probably doubled sales-wise, followers-wise. It's been doing really well. So I finally feel like I'm in the position to do a pop-up. It's going to be in September on Chapel Street. I'm collaborating with a few Melbourne creatives as well to make some one-of-one pieces, which is really exciting. There's also just going to be like more regular clothes. Yeah, it's really, really exciting. It's eating into my pocket a bit.
Yeah.
But it should be really cool. Even if I just break even for the event, I'll be like really happy just to have done it. And yeah, hopefully it'll also be a good chance to grow the business and get some new people.
So, yeah, I was going to ask, like, yeah, you said you're breaking into your pocket a bit. Has there been much stress with like spending your own money? Like, are you kind of funding it through working?
Yeah, a bit of everything. So yeah, I'm funding it with like a casual job. Pretty much like I feel like unless you have a small business, you don't really know this, but like in the early days, most of the money you make from your business is just funneled straight back into the business. You know, people see me sell like 10 hoodies for $100 each. I haven't made $1,000. I've like made way less than that profit-wise, and then it's also all just going straight back into the business. So yeah, most of it is just from money that I've made already with the brand, and then some of it is coming out of my own pocket as well from working. Pop-ups are expensive. If you're planning on doing one, be prepared to spend a lot of money. I'm manifesting it. It'll be a good turnout. I'm actually not stressed about the turnout. It's more so just like the initial expense. It's honestly, the brand's been growing quite a bit lately. I'm doing some really cool things with some cool people at the pop-up. So I think it'll be successful. It's just it's just eating into my pocket a bit right now. But it's cool. We'll make it back and it'll be good.
Yeah. Very excited to see what you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
My man.
Claudio, thank you so much. I'm so sorry. I'll get the name right one day.
Now, stepping away a little from movies and businesses, Jaya, I heard you had a little run-in with a super fan of Hungry Talks.
That's right. I got the chance to catch up with Cooper Spyro. This was, of course, after he had commented on all of our Instagram posts and sent us top security fan art, demanding that we produce a comic like last year's season.
Normal things, really.
Putting the potential extortion aside, I agreed to meet with him so we could have a chat about why he thinks we need a graphic novel for this year's season.
Cooper Spyro, welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. So, like, you're like our #1 fan, right?
A big, huge fan.
Commenting on the live.
I mean, I've been following you guys before you even did Hungry Talks.
And you did the comics for last year's show.
Yeah, did the comics.
Yeah.
Very close with Acaerr and Asha, and you know, I was very eager to put off my own uni work.
So, so what are you studying, or what were you studying?
I currently study games design at SAE. But I'm in my final trimester and there's an internship that comes along with it, so found that all a little daunting, especially because like I wasn't moved out of home or anything like that, didn't have a stable job.
Yeah.
So I decided the best thing to do was to defer.
Yeah, why do you like the show? Why are you our biggest fan, Cooper?
Well, real answer, I was friends with Anna and Asha. They started doing the show and I wanted to support them. And even realer answer is that I just love you guys. Like I'm so happy with what you're making. I love the Hungry Talks content and I'm just there week after week consuming it as much as I can.
I love is this the Ken Barbie inspired show?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say I got it before it came out, but now that it has come out, for the past like 2 weeks, everyone's been asking me if I'm attending it.
Yeah.
Already have, don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't yet.
Oh, we'll go after this.
We're doing Barbie Oppenheimer next week on the show. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'll be there front row.
Great. Are you going to also do a little comic for it, maybe?
I'm tugging at my heartstrings with that one.
We're gonna get you some comics for the show.
Yeah, I mean, if I can set some time aside, maybe the comic will make a reappearance.
Yeah.
But I'd love to pass the mantle on to someone else, maybe.
And what do you think of Charlie and my job as host this year? Are we living up to the very large shoes that Asher and Anna left behind?
I mean, I was definitely apprehensive. You know, like who are these people stepping into their shoes? Like, you know, do I even love them yet? But I think you've done an immaculate job. You know, anybody out there who wants to make fan art for you or for Charlie, you know,
Please.
Go right ahead. So I got some questions for you. What made you want to become the host? Was it just sort of no one stepped up to the plate, or you saw the opportunity and jumped for it?
I think it was very much of a case of I saw the opportunity and jumped for it. In our advertising course, at some point in our assignments, we have to present and like pitch the idea. And I've always put my hand up for that. There was like an anonymous sender sending through some fan art. Can you tell me? Do you have any?
Well, like, I've got my finger on the pulse, you know, I hear rumblings in the community from time to time, but I think it's come from a general disdain for the lack of comic. I believe it was mostly just people going out and taking photos on the picket line, seeing people strike for the comic.
And even Ash and Anna were in there. I can't believe that.
I mean, I can.
I
can.
Hey, they're your friends. They got to support your movement, but...
Yeah, I'm not involved. Legally. Legally, I'm not involved.
No case, no face?
Yeah, exactly.
No face, no case.
But yeah, no. Just very authentic photos.
Yeah, we love them. Cooper, thank you very much for being on the show.
No
Appreciate
worries.
it.
Thank you for having me. Bye, Hungry Talks.
Well, he seemed lovely. Maybe we should make a comic again this year.
Well, funnily enough, after we stopped filming, I asked him if we did make a comic, would he read it? And he just looked at me and shrugged and went, meh.
Oh well, I guess you gotta do it for the love sometimes. Which reminds me of what we're discussing today. Movies. People make movies out of a general love for the medium and storytelling. And if they become a huge blockbuster hit, that's just a win for everyone.
And it's up to advertisers like us to make those labours of love into successes, but we won't always get a budget like Barbie's. How can we, as advertisers, make a movie just as highly anticipated on a more modest budget? The most reasonable answer is, of course, trailers.
And we're very reasonable people here. So let's just have a more detailed look into how Oppenheimer was able to get just as much anticipation as Barbie on a much lower advertising budget, using trailers as their primary approach.
Movie trailer marketing can take on several different directions depending on a studio's goal to promote the story, the world that surrounds the film's characters, the stars, and or the director. A trailer for one movie can also exude different styles to garner several different emotional responses from audiences while slowly building anticipation. Case in point, the latest and third trailer for director Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, which premieres in theaters on July 21st. So for starters, let's go back to the very first trailer.
How can this man, he saw so much, be so blind?
It's more of a teaser, which showed us the man, Oppenheimer, played by Cillian Murphy, and the power of the weapon that would eventually be unleashed. A simple character dialogue voiceover against the ticking clock of a train-like engine chugging faster and faster. This builds anticipation with stark imagery and an ever-present clock ticking down, not only to the ultimate testing of the first nuclear device, but also the movie's release. So Nolan, Murphy, and the bomb. That's the primary initial marketing drive by the studio.
We imagine a future. And our imaginings horrify us.
The second trailer begins to expand the film a little more, giving a broader scope of what's at stake. The levels of tension are increased through the use of ethereal, almost a Vangelis styling of music. There's much more emphasis on cinematography and imagery. The setting and story locations comes more into focus. But this trailer still primarily gives us Murphy's, Oppenheimer, and the bomb he and his team of scientists are creating. Not to mention, and this runs throughout the marketing, that Christopher Nolan is bringing audiences this story in his own unique and pondersome style.
Detonator charged.
The third trailer's approach is much more like a standard direction, but here we're given the full, determined backdrop of World War II and the crucial importance of creating this weapon at that time in our history. And at last, we're finally shown the spectrum of familiar actors that Nolan has brought together around Cillian Murphy, who still remains in the driver's seat front and center. Finally, at the very end, we go back to the ticking like train engine we were introduced to in the very first teaser. It's almost like the marketing throughout these three very different trailers is coming full circle.
7, 6, 5.
And in my opinion, it was the right choice to not show the lineup of supporting stars in the first two trailers, because that might have clouded what Nolan wanted to hold up above all else. And make no mistake, Christopher Nolan has been known to be fully in on trailer production. I think this was a calculated direction to not cloud audiences into perceiving the film as a star-filled, big-budget spectacle. The first two trailers kept things very contained with razor-sharp stylistic focus. The final trailer blows the movie's wad with the frosting it always contained, and I absolutely applaud the editors who cut these and the trailer post houses that produced them. So, are you anticipating director Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer? And if so, how did these three very unique trailers inspire you? Let me know in the comments.
Truman needs to know what's next.
2,
What's next?
1.
Well, today has been incredibly informative. So let's apply all this newfound knowledge to this week's quick brief.
This week's brief was provided to us by our guests from Howatson Company. Thank you very much. And here to run it through you is, of course, Luca.
Yeah, thanks guys. So this week's quick brief is from our friends of the show from Howatson and Company, and it is the following. So the project's name is Bring Back the Youth, and the client is your choice, as long as it's a legacy brand. Some examples is Triple J or MTV, but you can take this in any direction you want. Just as some background, there are a number of legacy brands that were created for a youth audience many years ago and really captured the spirit of the youth at the time, but the audience has aged with them. And they are no longer youth brands despite being built for the youth. The challenge with this is we need to introduce today's youth audience to the brand while keeping its purpose intact. Your target audience is 18 to 24-year-olds in Australia, and as a tone of voice, please adopt an authentic and provocative tone. As for the single-minded proposition, it's what is old is new again. The deliverables are up to you. As long as they are talking directly to your audience, go for it. You should, a reason you should complete this brief is you'll receive a one-on-one mentor session with Rebecca Robertson, managing partner at Howatson Company, giving the deserving winner a chance to probe to get under the skin of what it's like at Howatson Company and understand all the different capabilities and how they all work together under one roof. Thank you. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Luca, and thank you again, Beck and Sasha, for the brief. Once again, the better the submissions, the more you increase your odds of winning Scamp Champ at this year's pitch night. There will be a lot of potential employees there, so it's kind of a golden opportunity.
And most importantly, they'll win a one-of-a-kind special edition, super cool lolly bag.
They absolutely do, Barbie. And as Luca mentioned, the winner of this brief will get to meet with Beck, managing partner of Howatson Company, for a one-on-one mentoring session to talk all things advertising and Howatson Company. This is a great brief for you guys, second years especially, looking for some industry experience.
Very cool opportunity, so get those briefs coming. But that's all we have time for tonight. Have a great evening, everyone, and join us next week as we discuss the importance of cultural and linguistic diversity in the advertising industry with Belle Kwan, multicultural storyteller and account director at Cultureverse, and John Burgers, CEO, and Kelsey Dunbar, marketing and events manager at First Nations owned and operated agency Little Rocket.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. The audience, the crew, and those online, wherever you are, good night, and hopefully this episode we can gross $1 billion, just like Barbie, because we have no budget here at Hungry Talks.
Bye, Ken.
We are so glad you came. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye now. Bye. Bye-bye. Remember, please discard all candy wrappers and popcorn containers in the nearest trash receptacle. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay. Are they all gone? Is everybody gone? Huh? Good. Oh my gosh, my cheeks are killing me. I can't keep smiling like this anymore. I am exhausted. I think I need a break. A little break? Okay.